choking, getting sick off sugar stick that thick. For the king queen, she takes it down with the lick of her lips. Don't be lying, guys. She's got you mesmerized from looking in her eyes, the way you look at her thighs. Dara's hot and she likes candy. That's really all I'm trying to communicate here. Eating like it's copulating, no one's gonna stop her. She's a crazy lollipop, a latent hungry kitty monster. If you're charging homie, get in line, cause everybody wants a little
And hello everybody. I hope you're all having a good day and having just a fantastic Sunday. Having a good relaxing day and all that fun stuff. I hope. Hey Raven, good to see you. Today we are going to do some more leatherwork stuff. By the way, of course, as usual, am I okay? Can you hear me all right? Am I entirely within am I audible? Is the sound good? All that fun stuff? Things looking good on your end? Let me double check. I can hear my comfy voice. Okay. Well, let me see if my... Aha. There we go. Now my PNG program is actually picking up my voice for animations. As you can see, we are working on a stitching project, on a sewing project. We are going to continue that today. Hello there. I didn't reveal what it was the first time, but as you can see, we are working on a lion. Well, it's supposed to be a big lion-style mask or a big cat mask. It's coming together rather nicely, I think. Today, if we can, we're going to finish all of the stitching on this. We also are going to bring in some dye and probably dye it. I do want to check its size. It feels a little small to me. So this will be kind of a good test to determine whether this pattern is sized well. My feel on scale is always a little distorted, so I can never tell. But I may... Overall, this feels like this may be on a little on the small side. But we're going to find out as we put this together. We are, again, working with heavier than usual materials, or heavier materials than is requested by this particular pattern. So some of the shapes are a little more difficult. We did take the time to re-drill out all of the stitching holes to make sure the stitching holes were easier to pull needles through and carry the needles. But yeah, we're just going to probably put on some background sound and get right to it, because we want to get through this as quickly as we can, so we can get on to dyeing it. If that goes by quickly, we'll probably finish up, work on a couple other things, and finish up, do a couple other things, or we'll switch to a game, or whatever sort of fits things and makes things work. Excuse me. If you have any suggestions or musical requests, of course, please give them to me, because I'm always looking for new music to explore. But for now, we will just put on some stuff I found. And you can tell me if the music is too loud, too quiet, just right, etc., etc., etc. But we will get moving with our project today. So as we get started, gotta ask, how's everybody's Sunday going? I spent today before we started playing Project Zomboid. It is... Oh, right, this is the one where we need a very long thread, because we're stitching a very long... We're doing this stitching line here. That, as you can see, this is a very long stitching line. So that is where we're starting today. So Project Zomboid has kind of become has kind of a little bit become yay for cleaning. I mean, not yay for cleaning, but yay for getting stuff done with cleaning. So, here are my feelings about Project Zomboid after I've played it as much as I have. Project Zomboid has become very much my Stardew Valley of games right now. Meaning, it's actually pretty simple, but you can do a lot of stuff with it. And it's pretty easy to get pretty deep into it. And just kill hours doing things like spending an in-game day taking things apart to build your carpentry skill, or building fences, or doing gardening, or things like that. It is a little bit more deadly, of course, because, zombies. But, it definitely has that similar sort of appeal to it. It also has the added... you die a lot more, because it's definitely a game where if you make a mistake, you're gonna die. Like, if you make a mistake, you're just gonna die. Which is why there are definitely mods that I recommend, especially if you're more of a casual player and not really a hardcore player, that I think are incredibly valuable to sort of bring the game together as an experience and make it a more comfy game experience. That said, I am very much enjoying my time with Project Zomboid. I think you should also not feel bad about customizing the game settings however you want to get the play experience out of it that you want. For example, their skill system by default is pretty punishing. And so I adjusted the experience gain so that the skills weren't nearly as punishing to level up and get skill with. So that way I could do more of the things more quickly. And that has, in some way, it's made my game easier, but it's also made it a very, a better game experience for me, since I have no intention of being any kind of hardcore Project Zomboid player. I'm playing it because, again, it's a little bit like Stardew Valley in that it's kind of light, it's kind of casual, it's kind of fun, and it's good at being a comfy game that eats up the time that I need it to. It does, even at easier levels, have a fairly steep learning curve. I will not deny that. So, expect to be kind of frustrated with it a little bit when you first get started. But when you start getting rolling and you start kind of understanding things, that's another level of sort of satisfaction you can get out of the game. But that's true, I think, of any game that has a little bit of a steep learning curve. It's just kind of whether you're willing to go through and want to deal with that steep learning curve. I am certainly looking forward to future updates because they have already said they're going to do things like, well, first of all, add animals. I would absolutely play with you, Raven. I would need you to host the server because I'm already hosting a server that I play on with Loribun. But I would absolutely play with you. So, yeah. That, as I said, my only caveat is I would need you to host because you can only apparently have one server. You can only host one server at a, you can only be a server host for one world. And I want to keep the one that Loribun and I are working on running. Without interruption. But yeah, I'd absolutely play. I bet you could get Grom. I mean, I haven't heard much from Groms, but I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't get Groms to play too. Hello there, feline. Where feline, it's been good to see you in chat. You usually don't seem to be able to make it to my streams, which, I appreciate. Life being busy and all. So it's good to see you. Now, since I'm doing this here, I would say if I was going to Yeah. I get that feeling. If I was doing this mask, if this wasn't my first time doing this map, I probably would have done any dyeing or color work that I intended for this mask before I ever started stitching it together. So if and when we do get this done today, and we move on to the dyeing section where we color it, I will pretty much most likely color this black just to match the sinew, the artificial thread that we're using. And that's just because we didn't do any coloring beforehand. Yeah, I'm also doing it in thick leather too, so I expect this is going to go a lot faster now that I kind of understand what I'm doing a little bit. Or I understand how the pattern goes together. But yeah. Let's see how many times I can stab myself in the fingers with the needles today. That is the other name of the game. There's number 1. Number 1, sticking myself with the needle. I'm not going to keep count of that on stream. If you all want to keep count of how many times I poke myself on stream, that is going to have to be your job. But there's number 1. What are you going to be crocheting, Raven? What you making? What you making? Pants? I don't think I've ever actually seen full leather or full crocheted pants before. That seems like, I mean, I've seen a lot of crocheted things, but not like full pants. I will admit, that seems a little odd of a thing to crochet. Maybe it's just because of the culture I'm in, but I wouldn't expect to see someone with crochet pants coming down the street, if that makes sense. Maybe that's just a cultural thing. It probably is. All right. Oh. Yeah, I poked myself enough to get a little blood. So now there's a little bit of blood in my project. I got a little blood streak on my project. Good thing I'll be dyeing it. Well, I have said in the past that every piece of hardware that I own has tasted my blood at one time or another. Ah, there it is. Okay. So we're gonna do this to this. Guess you could also say I put a little bit of myself in every piece of work I do. Just maybe not the piece of myself that you were expecting. Yep. It happens. Especially with these needles, because like the poke to the back of my finger there really did not hurt. Let me just be clear about that. That did not hurt. But it is absolutely one of those places on your body that just even a little tiny prick will get a little bit of blood. You know. So I suppose if you were diabetic, that's a good place to stick yourself, because it really does not take much to get the blood flowing. Let's give myself a little bit of slack to work with on this. There we go. I'm just unlacing it. I'm just unlacing it a little bit so I have a little bit more slack to work with as I drive this needle through before I sort of cinch it down. And there we go. All right. All right. Did it again. There's poke number 2. Poke number 2. Harold looks a bit sad. He's just he's chilling. Here, we can have Harold hanging out up here. Pink, pink, pink. There's Harold. You can hang out with us for a little bit. I have no problems with Harold sitting with us for a little bit, especially since I'm not using a good chunk of my table for this part. Since really what I'm doing is just stitching and more stitching. So when I made Harold, because it's a 3D printed model, I used my, I have my 3D printer. But my 3D printer isn't big enough to print all of Harold at once. So I did end up having to print Harold in multiple pieces and put him together in multiple pieces. I really, if I get the money, do want to get a bigger 3D printer, a more sort of industrial sized 3D printer, and reprint Harold as one piece. Because, yeah, there's a good chance, not a good chance, but there's a chance Harold could potentially come apart if the glue gives out or anything like that. So, and we don't want Harold to fall apart, do we? That would be horrible. Yeah, that would be Harold 2.0. There's nothing wrong with having a 2.0 of something when you sort of learn how to do a thing better, right? Always keep that in mind. Like, as you improve your techniques, there's no, you don't have any, you shouldn't be stressed about or otherwise, update your work is, I guess, what I'm saying. Update your work. Even if you think you are doing something just completely fine, sometimes it's better to just take a moment and rethink about how you do things now as opposed to when you did them back then, and maybe do a little revision, do a little update. That's certainly what I did with what I do for my cuffs now. Like, the way I did them before, it was perfectly fine. It was perfectly good, but I was just kind of wanted to update it and do something a little different. And here we can see how this particular this method of doing the stitching is forcing the curve into the muzzle, which is interesting. It's giving it's giving the face the curve that it needs, which, I mean, to be frank, I Yeah, figuring out this whole thing on my own would have been near impossible. I can't do that. And every stitch we put in just progresses that a little bit more. I am seriously thinking about... I know you don't see them, Raven, but I'm seriously thinking about switching to the 3-minute ads every hour as opposed to the minute and a half of ads every 30 minutes or so. The frequency of the ads just kind of annoys me. It feels like there are more than... Yeah. The minute and a half of ads every 3 minutes, or every 30 minutes or so, feels more intrusive to me. Okay. We want this as tight as we can get it, so we can pull that in. All right. Okay, so we are going into... The next step is to bring this corner into this corner. So let's do that. So, yeah, I think I'll do that after this. I think I'll do that after this stream. I think I'll just shift over to the 3 minutes every hour. Although you'll have to let me know, because I never figured out how you get the stream elements bot to announce the ads are coming up. I thought I had set it to do so, but it just doesn't seem to be doing it. I thought I had followed the instructions on how to do that, and it just turned out not so much. Yeah. Oh, you don't use Stream Elements? What do you? In that case, what do you use? I mean, I'm curious. What do you use? Because I'm more than open to changing how I do things if they work out better. I mostly use Stream Elements because I haven't really had the opportunity or the time to investigate anything better. And Stream Elements is just easy for some basic things. Come here, you. There we go. Mix it up. Interesting. Is it a free service or does it cost anything? It's a free service. Okay. I will look into that then. Because I'm always looking for, you know, as I said, better and easier way to do things, and I'm not afraid of being like, I'm not afraid of changing things up if they would work better. Man, I will be kind of glad when it is time for the show, and well, so the last week before I do a show, I generally try to go very light on production because, you know, I have to sort of gear myself up and do other things in time for an event. But I'm beginning to think my right hand will really appreciate a bit of a break. Ow. And I just stuck my finger again, so that's stick number 3. 3 or 4? Are we on 3 or 4 of finger sticks? One or the other. 3 or 4. All right. Overall, I think I'm pleased with how this is coming together. I still think it feels a little small, but let's see how it looks when we get it closer together, when we get it fully put together. Yep. Again, it feels maybe a little stuck myself again. That's either 4 or 5. That's what I get because I'm trying to actually hurry a little bit. Well, I'm not necessarily trying to hurry, but I'm trying to keep a good, steady pace. And, you know, that can... There we go. I am not sure there's going to be enough thread left to finish this stitch line. I'm actually... Especially if this one keeps wanting to pull through. Like that. But we'll try. We'll go as far as we can. Reasonably go. It's also a good thing that I'm mildly ambidextrous, so I can actually switch hands while stitching. I'm mildly ambidextrous because I trained myself to be, because I have injured myself quite a few times on my right arm. And so I was kind of forced to learn how to do a fair bit of stuff with my left arm. I was very, very accident prone as a kid. And through high school, I ended up breaking my arms a total of 6 times throughout the years. Which was not fun, but did teach me some valuable skills. Namely, how to do a lot of things left-handed. Not everything. I still can't write left-handed, really, but... Alright, since I'm confident that this particular thread is not long enough to... yeah, I'm confident this stitch line is not long enough... yeah, I'm confident this stitch line, this thread is not long enough to do this entire stitch line. I'm just gonna push this through, cut it off, and start another one real quick. That'll, you know, finish off the line. It's honestly better to just start a new stitch line than it is to try to push things and end up with a really clumsy finish or be unable to finish. So I'd rather just start a new stitch line. So one of the things that I also was thinking about with this is, like, so this is supposed to be a lioness style mask. Of which apparently I've lost a piece. Oh no, there it is. How would I adapt this mask to be more other feline-like? You know, tiger-shaped or leopard-shaped or, you know... And I think a lot of it would just kind of... We'll see how it looks at the end, but I think some of it would have to do with altering the chin shape just a little bit. Some of it, I think, might relate to would probably relate to like adding sort of a rough design. Hey guys, like a cheek ruff kind of thing that maybe would work. The shape and position of the ears might need to be different. things like that might make it a little bit more distinctively different feline shaped. I don't know. But finally, at least getting a pattern that is going to be a good base for those kinds of designs is just a first step that I absolutely needed. Nice, Gaz. I have done that before. Not on stream, unfortunately, but I have definitely, especially when I was very new with Beat Saber, I did that myself. It is exhausting and invigorating at the same time. Like you get done with you get done with you get done with a run like that, and it's just like, holy shit, what did I just do? But at the same time, you kind of go, I want to do it again. So, I hope you had fun with it, Gaz. And that I think I did stream a 6-hour session at one point. But it was very, very early when I first got my headset. And I wasn't really set up for Twitch or anything, so I just kind of opened a stream and went. And it was mostly just there so a couple of my friends could chat with me and stuff while I did it. I think this was potentially even before I met Werefeline and Sony and Lori and all those folks. So, it's quite a while ago. Wink, wink, just nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. Yeah, not so much. Wrong streaming platform, Feline. That's a different platform. Come here, you. Alright, there we go. Well, thank you, Raven. I appreciate that very much. Okay. Come here, you. All right. Let me tie this off, and this will be another done stitch line. There we go. There's another done stitch line. It was a good long one, too. Oof, feel like I could have pulled that tighter, but maybe, maybe not. Partially because, again, this leather is way thicker than is generally recommended for this project. So, yeah. So we're just kind of doing what we can. And it may be a bigger, fatter looking kitty mask than we intended, but that's okay. Okay. All right. Now I need to go on and see which part is next. I'm happy I met you both as well, Gaz. Come on, pick up where we left off. By the way, the title of this video guide is Super Easy and Quick to Make Leather Mask. Like, seriously? Seriously? You call this quick to make? I don't know what you qualify as quick to make, but... Okay, so we just need to do those corners. You can do that. Like... when all is said is done, I'm probably going to have 8 hours worth of work into this project. So I don't know what the hell you think you mean by quick and easy. Okay, easy, yes. Easy I will give you. It is not, this one is not particularly difficult to do. But quick? What are you smoking, sir? Like, easy, sure. I get easy if you have any experience stitching and if you have any experience cutting leather. This is not a difficult thing to make. But quick? No. Nope. Not in the slightest. Oh, did you find it? Where, Feline? That is not the reason that this is slower than... I only gave part of the literal title. I didn't give all of the literal title. I mean, it'll be lovely if I can make this look anything like that. And again, though, this one's going to be black instead of actual, you know, lion colored, but... But, you know, we'll do what we can. Fine, fine. So you all know what I'm going for, what the design is supposed to look like now. The question is can I make it look like that? That is the question. I mean, honestly, even with this thicker leather, I don't think it's, you know, other than a couple little spots, I don't think putting it together with this thicker leather is harming in the process very much. I think it's actually still looking just fine with this thicker leather. I've made it obviously more difficult for myself in doing it this way, but basically the only place that I feel that it substantially made putting this together more difficult was where the eyes join up, which is the corner of the eyes right here where the eyes join up. There's a bend in there that you do have to shave down anyway, but even with shaving it down, it was still pretty... It didn't want to bend real well. And that's actually part of my... that actually is part of the YouTube... It's on the VOD, is I went in and I did... put a little water on the leather to help make those parts fold a little bit easier. And they kind of didn't, but... You know, I think it helped a little bit. Oh, nice! Well, you have the opportunity to do so now, Raven, so you're good there. And I misjudged the thread length on these, but that's okay. Okay, so that's one side done. I figured this is what the pattern would have us do next, but I wasn't sure 100%. So I'm always going to follow the pattern guide, at least so I generally will always follow a pattern guide pretty closely the first couple of times I do a project. Then, as I get used to the project, I will change things to better suit how I work, and my style of putting things together in ways that just make more sense to me. So, since this is my very first time doing this pattern, I'm going to follow the stitching guide, the online guide that they have there, you know, really, really pretty closely. Unless there's something that just completely doesn't work with the way I do things, I'll follow the guide. Nice! Very pretty. That's a good color black, too. So Raven, what do you use for your black dye? Do you use an oil-based dye, or do you use an alcohol-based dye? I ask because I get the feeling we're going to get to that part of doing this project today. And I want to show you the dyes that I use and all that kind of stuff. Use Vantablack. Have the cat that disappears in the night. I'm the cat that disappears in the night. I am Vantacat. Okay. So I use an alcohol-based dye, and then I generally go over it with something called a substance called Resolene, which is, I don't know if you've heard of Resolene before. It's an acrylic-based sealer. It gives it a much more slick look, I think. But I've wanted to try the wax thing before because it can give it a warmer feel, which I think can be really good. I also generally dilute my sealant because pure Resolene is quite an aggressive sealant. And they say, oh, you should do a light coat first. Well, of course you should do a light coat first, but when your sealant doesn't go on lightly, it makes it a little bit tough to do a light coat, you know? The other thing I don't do that I just because I find it so infuriatingly time-consuming and annoying is I don't burnish my edges as much as I should. Because to get a proper burnish, it takes quite a bit of actual heavy work to get a good burnish on an edge, on a leather edge. So that one's one where I want to buy a burnishing tabletop tool, which is basically just it's got a couple of burnishing rounds and then a finishing cloth. Okay, feline, sleep goods. Please do. No sleep deprived felines, please. I know you are always kind of sleep deprived, but you know, we want you to be in as good a shape as you can be. So when they call it leather fat, do they clarify like what they mean by that? Because I don't think I've heard the term leather fat used for a finishing product. I've heard leather wax before, but I don't think I've heard leather fat before. And I'm wondering if that's something I should be looking up. I mean, if you overslept feline, then you probably needed it, but yeah, try to do the unconsciousness thing. There we go. And I did it again. I shorted one side. Oh well. Oh, I want to get Repo, Feline, and Raven up there. Apparently they have a regular game of it. So, yeah, we should get together and play Repo sometime. From what I've seen, it is an absolute giggle fest. So, I really want to try it. It's also only, I mean, it's $10, so as impulse buys goes, it's not the most harmful thing you could have bought. Huh. So I have seen burnishing wax before. So I have seen that before. But I'm not sure about burnishing or leather grease or burnishing grease. He's forming up pretty well, isn't he? Huh. Alright, what's next? Yes, I would love to play Repo sometime. Maybe that will be next week. We could potentially do some Repo. Since I think by next Sunday I'll pretty much be done with, you know, I'll be done with the leather that I'm going to be working on, the different other projects that I'll be working on. Or at least I'll be done with anything that I really can do on stream anyway. Okay, good to know. Maybe we should do it. Well, maybe we could do a Friday thing. Raven, if you're available on a Friday, you could. Yes, that's. Maybe instead of doing it. We could do it next Friday. Maybe we can do it next Friday instead. All right, so the next step is are we doing the nose now? We are doing the nose now. Now, is he going to pull the... Sorry, I'm just looking at the little stitching guide. Yeah, for the last bit they pull the third layer through. And he is making this more difficult than it needs to be, I think. Okay, so our next step is going to be to basically stitch all of this to get all of this piece part together, and then the nose comes in at the bottom. So, but the way he did it was he stitched this side down, and then he stitched this side down. And I bet you could do this whole thing just by stitching it all together. But then you'd have that going across the nose. I think I'll do it his way. It'll turn out a little bit better, I think. Maybe it'll turn out a little bit better because it'll be a vertical stitch instead of the stitch crossing across there. Yeah, we'll do it his way, I suppose. Go sleep. Go sleep. Although I absolutely get that feeling of like, I don't want to, because that means like work and stuff. So, yeah, I absolutely get that. I absolutely get that feeling. But I'm still saying you should go sleep, Raven. Or not Raven, Feline. Go sleep. Go sleep, Feline. Hey, I'm used to saying go sleep. I'm used to saying go sleep, Raven, because Raven also, like, I am a late night stream. I am basically a late night stream for Raven. So I am used to saying go to sleep as well. Hey, you know what? What two consenting adults do on their own time is none of my business. On their own time and at their own comfort levels. Is all your business and none of mine. Ooh, I also have an idea of how to do this, so it's all one stitching line rather than two stitching lines. So I'm going to go through there and bring this in. Come here, you. And we have encountered the other challenge with using this thick leather. Out! Stuck my finger again. That's 5 or 6. Okay, feline. Sleep goods. Sleep wells. See you on the Discords. Okay. So I am combining those stitches into one stitching line, because there's no need for 2 stitching lines here, in my opinion. Definitely no need for 2 stitching lines here. So I don't mean to keep pulling the pattern out of camera line, but you know, I'm kind of, when I hit the groove, I kind of lose track of where everything is. I mean, if someone else is paying the cuss jar, I'm good with that. And also, Feline, you said you were leaving, so get out. Come here. Why are you having such problems? There we go. Oh, right, I forgot to get a little extra light in here. I need to work on my lighting situation too. That is another thing I need to do. Like, it's not bad, but it definitely could be better. Definitely could be better for these live camera streams. Okay. And one more time through. Think. Hey, look, he is actually getting kind of feline-faced. Look at that. He actually kind of looks like a kitty. Sorta, anyway. What's next? Nose is cut. Next is... we do the jaw, right? Right. I just want to see how he chooses to do the jaw join. Are you going from both sides to the middle, or are you going all the way across? Oh. Squeeze them out as best you can and try again? Okay, this is what I wanted to see. Oh, okay, so he's just doing each side separately. Okay. Well, I guess that means you're stuck with me for a little bit longer until you can dry things out. I suppose. You're stuck with horrible old me? It's just so horrible. So horrible. I know, it means you can't get to sleep. Which is bad. Okay. Interestingly enough, we are actually almost done with the stitching part of this. I am highly encouraged by this fact. I am not doing the straps on this today. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I wouldn't want that either. That just sounds sounds a little creepy. If there's anyone coming to visit my place, like, I will absolutely be there for it. And I probably won't leave and I probably won't do anything until, well, no, I mean, I'll do things, but they will have my attention until they are gone. Just make sure you're awake in time for it, you know? That's the only thing. This is going to end up being kind of a severe bend on this stitch line, which is fine. again, I just kind of made it harder for myself by using this thick-ass leather. But, you know, that's what you do sometimes. Just to use it means I get to use that amazing grip strength I have, or something like that. Giggity. There's a bit of a loose part on the underside, which I wanted to make sure I got rid of. Oh, whoops. Still not used to the whole keeping things in frame part of this, so I don't instinctively know where things go. I've heard that's a skill you develop, like, as you do this, you just instinctively learn where things need to be in frame. I'm not to that point yet. Okay. So, are your cats the kind of cats who, like, strangers are immediate danger to them? Or is your cat the kind of cat where it's like, oh, look, strangers means new pets? More pets? Or some mix of the two? Both? Yeah. Yeah. I've always been comfortable around animals. I've never had a problem with animals liking me. Except a couple of high-strung, sort of yappy dogs that didn't take kindly to me very much. But for the most part, I've never really had a problem with that. So that would be either that way together, if it was a... Oof, no, that's not gonna look good with this thick leather. It would work, but it's not gonna look good. Okay. I'm definitely putting in the spacer. I have some friends who have a very nervous orange cat, and I'm one of the few people that, when I'm around, it comes out to greet me. And when I was a kid, I got to do some volunteer work working for a small zoo that was associated with a school that I went to. And we were, you had various tasks, cleaning up, shoveling, that kind of stuff. So basically they were taking advantage of child labor. But it was cool because we got to work with all the animals, which was nifty. And well, one of the animals that the zoo had is an animal called a rhea. Do you know what a rhea is? R-H-E-A. It's a type of big flightless bird. I don't know if you've heard of them. They are related to ostriches and emus and things like that. They're part of that emu, ostrich, cassowary, that whole family of thing. They're a little bit smaller than emus. But they notoriously have the same generally annoying attitude towards people, meaning they tend to be kind of aggressive and they like nipping at people that annoy them. And I was the only one in my class who never got nipped by those guys. They liked me a lot. They even let me give them pets, which was not very common among these birds. And I've just kind of always had relations with animals like that. I've always just been kind of on a chill level with animals. I have heard that is a common trait among a lot of people with autism and such. And I couldn't tell you why, but apparently that's a thing. Thank you. Let me tell you though, in person, okay. In person, I tend to be a lot more standoffish. Until I get to know someone better or until I click with them. Because I'm usually good at sort of understanding who I will click with and who I won't. And if I don't click with you right away, it takes some pretty serious warm-up to get me to kind of follow through with you in that way. Or to hook up, to link up with you in that way. Hey, look at this. I think we're practically done. All we have to do is stitch this jawline after this stitch, and we'll be ready to move on to dye work. When mouth garbage is all you can produce, you might as well lean into it, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not a social person. Except in very specific circumstances with very specific types of people. And then good luck getting me to shut the fuck up. I definitely overcompensate on the sociability part when that happens. Okay. All right. Now, if I'm thinking correctly, this basically piece is going to go in there. Now, the question is whether it goes to those two or it goes all the way up, is I think where the next piece is going to go. But let me go check the video and we will find out. Are you going to show me... I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure I can figure it out myself, but... I'd prefer to get confirmation. So he's doing the thing. And then I jump forward a little too far. Then I jump back a little too far. Oh wait, no, I'm definitely... Alright. So we've got the centerpiece. Where does he start? Oh, he starts on the bottom. Interesting. Okay. We can do that. And that'll just guide us. That'll tell us how far we need to go. Okay. Let's see. This should be... I won't say easy, but hopefully it'll come together nice and smoothly. This is kind of the last piece of things. We really want it to come together smoothly, right? Oop, not like that though. That is not smoothly, that is missing a hole. And it is very polite to go through to keep going once you have missed the hole. Tell me I'm wrong. Go on, tell me. I am enthused by this being almost done. What? It's not impolite to keep going when you miss the hole? Or it's... yeah. Are you saying you want them to keep going when you miss the hole? Because, I mean, I can respect that choice, but, you know, it seems like a personal decision to me. I mean, especially if they forgot the lube. I will share with you these 3 great truths in my many years of practicing BDSM and having fun. The 3 great joking truths. Truth number 1. Everything is insertable with enough lube. Truth number 2. If it's pink, it cannot hurt. Anyone who says something that is pink is hurting is lying. And thirdly, always be careful because if you break your toys, you cannot play with them again. And yes, by toys, it is pretty much exactly what you think it is. Obviously, all that's for comedy. Do not take that as literal truth. Because it is not. But it's often a funny little icebreaker when you're talking to someone who is scared about this whole thing. Is that properly through? Is good. Whoops. Well, that's fine. We want to... at least get part way down the second. Second side of the jaw. We'll at least get partially down there before we start a new line, because this is not going to be long enough and I have ruined some of the thread, so it is not going through as cleanly as I want it to. This is the only problem with this sinew. The sinew is not braided like normal thread is. So oftentimes it will it'll slip free of the needle, which can be problematic, and it'll start fraying at the end, which makes it, of course, harder for the needle to hold onto it. So that is definitely one difficulty with the sinew that takes a bit of workaround. Here. And here is where this starts getting a little tricky, because I need to bend this in this way. So this is the part where my choice in leather has really hampered me. Like, it'll be fine once I put this all together, but getting it together is going to be a little bit of a struggle. And we're going to do a couple more stitches at least, and then we'll probably tie it off and do another thread for the last little bit, just to make sure it is nice and secure. Because the thread that I'm using, the sinew length of sinew that I'm using now, is starting to give out pretty heavily. Oh, don't do that. You don't want to be that neighbor. Okay. I think I'm going to do one more. Before I start an additional. There we go. All right, and let's go back through here. I sincerely hope what the guy who did this did wasn't just come up from the other side, because that would be a little embarrassing, because it means I would have done more work than I needed to, but I feel like this will be a little bit of a better way to do this, because it'll be one sort of continuous line, even if I had to break up the actual thread. Okay. I think I would have problems living in that kind of situation, Raven. Like, I would end up being the neighbor that basically reports them for blasting music at 3 a.m. Especially if they kept doing it. Actually, in fact, I can confirm I was that kind of neighbor, because when I was in college and I was living in not the dorms, I was living in apartments that were adjacent to the college, there would be parties that would be going until fucking 2+ in the morning, and I would just be like, nope, not having it, not having it. So yeah, I was that asshole. And I do not regret it, because fuck 'em. I would rather be that guy than not be able to have sleep. I am, in fact, I mean, with me it was about 1 a.m. Like, if you had your shit going after 1 a.m., I was going to have a problem. But yeah. Although the noisy sex part could be entertaining because you could rate them on their performance. You know, shout back through the walls. That sounded like a 7. Last week you had an 8. Sounds like you're sliding. You need to keep up your training. Which could be funny, especially if they're bringing home different people every week. All right, now that the first initial bend is over, this is actually coming together nice and easy. Okay. And that is the last stitch. Whew! Tie it off and clip it. There is our mask. Sorry, Harold. How does he look? What do you think, everybody? What you think, what you think, what you think? Right, the person who is watching who would comment is doing vacuuming, probably. I mean, other than the struggles I gave myself involving using heavier leathers, this pattern actually came together rather easily. So they were definitely right about that part. I just... So they were right about that part. I think it could use bigger ears, maybe. That might be a thing I do when I do more of these. Let's see. The jawline is fine. He's a broad-muzzled kitty. But that means we have time to dye this sucker. Because we've been at this for, what, 2 hours now? Yep, 2 hours. So give me a moment, and I will be back with my dyes and a couple of things that I am going to need to give this guy a good color. So we're going to put him right there. And good, our ads are about to start too, so people who are just watching aren't going to miss much. I will be right back. And I'm back. And I'm back with some dye. I'm going to be dyeing this black so that the sinew blends in with everything else. I have here just a dauber, what's called a black wool dauber or cotton dauber, however you want to get it, synthetic dauber or whatever. And this is my leather vat. I was using it to dip dye some things earlier, so I just keep everything in this nice little vat here. It's, you know, not 100% perfect seal, but close enough for government work. Of course, one of the first things you want to set up whenever you're about to dye something is a bit of paper so that you don't get a bunch of dye on things that you don't want to be covered in dye, because that would be bad. The other thing is you generally want your project to be dry. You want it to be pretty much the shape you want it to be. This is what's called a veg tan. This is veg tan leather, so it is going to absorb a lot of liquid. It's going to absorb a ton of dye. I could have done that a little bit smoother, but oh well. I'm going to try to I'm going to get all of the front. I'm going to get as many of the edges as I can get. And then I probably won't do the back. I'll probably do the back of the ears. Maybe the back of this tongue piece right here. But most of this stuff doesn't really need to be dyed. And unfortunately, and the back side of this veg tan is very difficult to seal, which means that if someone's wearing it, the dye might come off on them, especially if they sweat. So you really kind of don't, you know, it's one of those things where dyeing veg tan and dyeing the back of your veg tan is both optional, but also sometimes just a bad idea. But here we have just our big vat of black. It's basically what it is. It's big. It's an alcohol-based dye. We're just going to soak our dauber in it, and we're just going to hit every area we can touch with the dye. Yes, that means the rivets that are holding the ears in place are going to get a good coat as well. Remember, we're trying to get every edge, every surface. So, you know, don't be afraid to be generous. They say use a thin coat and then go over it later if you need to. But this is veg tan. As I said, veg tan is incredibly thirsty. It will absorb whatever we throw at it to any degree we want to throw at it. And as I also said, normally this is something I would do before I started stitching, but since I was unsure of how the project would turn out, I just decided I would do it after. I wanted to see how things kind of worked out before I decided to invest any dye in this. If I had a big enough vat, I might even dip dye this project, but you know, I don't have a big enough vat, and I don't have enough black to do that with. Dip dyeing is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You go in and you just dunk your project in the dye. You just make it, you just submerge it. It is the best way. It is the best way to get like as much of a thorough coating as dye as possible. So if you're looking for dye saturation and impregnation, I guess you'd call it, then this is going to be the way to, then dip dyeing is going to be better than anything you could do by hand. Why you'd want to use to get that level of saturation is if you were going to be cutting away pieces of the leather and you wanted to make sure that even the pieces of the leather that you cut down to have dye in it, that would be why you'd want to dip dye and get that level of saturation. some of these areas I might need to get into with a Q-tip. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not going to fight that. I'm going to grab a Q-tip. Now, where do I have my Q-tips? It's probably someplace buried. There they are. So we're going to use a Q-tip to get to some of these little areas that I can't reach with the normal dauber. We're just going to get those in there as best we can. After I get done with these, past these ears, the rest of this should actually be pretty easy. All right. There's a reason why I'm wearing vinyl gloves. I expect to get dye basically everywhere on my hands. So, you know, just gotta go with it. Yay for dud vacuuming! As you can see, I am giving this guy a good coating of black dye. I am also using, as I was saying, I'm also using an alcohol-based black dye. The brand I use is a brand called Angelus. Angelus dye. I don't know if that brand ships internationally, but we're just going to try and get as much of a good coating on this as I can. As I was saying earlier, I'm trying not to get as much of the dye on the leather that's going to be in contact with the person's head, because on the inside of veg tan leather like this, it's really incredibly hard to prevent that dye from coming off, especially if they sweat. Like, it doesn't matter what sealant you use, eventually it's just going to come through anyway. Which is unfortunate, but... And as I also said, like, normally I would have done this dyeing before I ever put the pieces together. But since I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, I left it until after. I hope so. You should be able to get to bed soon. I hope. All right. And this is me. I'm putting the dye on thick because, again, I want to make sure I get every single crack and crevice, but also because veg tan will soak up. Veg tan will absolutely drink up any dye you throw at it. Like, veg tan is the thirstiest of leathers, and it will, the more dye you throw at it, the thirstier it gets, and the more it will love you. So, let's just... Well, that sounds cute. Also sounds handy. Let's keep on just getting good coating of this, because I don't want any little spots to escape. I don't want any parts to avoid getting dyed that will be visible. All right. As I was saying earlier, the brand that I use for my leather, for my dye, is a brand called Angelus. I am not sure if you have that brand where you live, but it's a very good alcohol-based dye. So if you are looking for a dye brand and it is available, their prices are quite usable. They have a very good variety of colors. Let's get this. I think I will come back and do the edging in a little bit. Now, I'm not sure if I want to do 1 or 2 coats of the black on this. Haven't decided. We'll see how the black dries out and how it looks after it dries out. All right. We're making... Luckily, you know, dyeing leather doesn't take that much time, luckily. It's pretty quick, even with just a little wool dauber like this one. So... get inside its little nose, get up its little nose. Now, the other thing that will happen with this is it will darken a little bit once I put the Resolene/water solution on it. The color will kind of sink in and get a little bit more, it'll get a bit more depth to it. Which will be nice. It will also kind of smooth out the colors in general a little bit. But there is a certain aspect of the irregularity to the dye that I kind of like when you hand dye something. It definitely creates some cool patterns in the leather that show up with the hand dye that are just kind of cool, they give it some distinctiveness that I really like. As you can see, I'm just kind of going over it a little bit more. Just to make sure that dye really sinks in. And you can see as I do it, the veg tan really is drinking it up. It's really just saying, "Ooh, yes please, give me more. Give me more. I want all of that. I want all of the color that you can give me." All right. As I said, I'm doing the edges a little bit just to get a little bit of, make sure there is a color depth on the edges. But for the most part, I'm not going to be doing much edging because I don't want the leather to come off on people's faces. And I I think that's a good coating. What do you think? I think that's a good solid coating of black to start with. I may or may not give it another coat of black, but I think for the most part that looks done to me. What do you think? How does our new kitty look? I will hold him up a little bit so you can. I'm looking at it, and when I hold it up to my face, I do feel like it should maybe be like 5% bigger. Maybe? I think it will absolutely work as a mask, as what I want it to be. But I think it could absolutely, it's absolutely fine as it is. Will I use this pattern in the future? I think so. I think I'm going to use this pattern. I will use this pattern. I think I will see about maybe narrowing the chin just a little bit. I also think I will see about maybe adding some cheek ruffs. The pattern person who made the pattern had some examples of where they used fur and did a fur mane, so you could do it as a male line as well. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. We'll see what a good coating of the Resolene does when I put the blacking from the Resolene on it. And I will obviously have to do some straps. I have to do some straps and stuff for it. But I want to hit up some of these. Overall, though, I think it's worth it. I think the stitching turned out good. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go put away my dye. I'm going to put away my dye, which I'm going to hopefully do without destroying either my hands or my headset. Let me really quick. I'll mute you for just a minute while I go put this somewhere where it can dry out a bit. All right, I am back. So I have an idea for what I'm going to do for the whiskers. In the version that was in the video, he just sort of painted on, scratched in the whiskers so it would look like whiskers. I think I'm actually going to do something a little different, just to give you an idea. What I think I'm going to do is, let me grab, where did I put that? All right. So what I think I might do is, okay. So you're probably familiar with this, but this is a Chicago screw. Do you know what a Chicago screw is, Raven? It might have a different term, but it basically is it's got a screw peg so it's basically got so it has a hollow peg and then a screw that sort of screws in to give you a secure fastener. So normally what you do is you take you put this through a hole in your project, and it's basically used instead of a rivet. So it goes together like this, and you can see how, it's another form of fastening, right? It's sometimes good for, it's actually very good for, if you want to, if something is going to be taking a lot of strain and that you think a rivet is not going to be adequate to hold it. So my idea was to take this female side. Here, I'm gonna. To take this female side, punch some holes in the side of the muzzle where I want the whiskers to be, sort of shove this through it and use hot glue to hold it in place in the hole. So this will be held in place with hot glue with a little bit of the peg coming out of it. And then take fishing line or, fishing line's a good one. Clear fishing line, thick clear fishing line, and sort of stuff that in the little peg hole and hot glue it in place, so I can have actual whiskers coming out from the side of the mask. So it'd basically be shoving, coming out a little bit from. Can you kind of visualize what I'm talking about? Yeah. And now that I know how this goes together, I could do that more easily. And I think it'd be really cool to have these little things coming out just a little bit and then have little actual whiskers coming off the sides. And I can do three or so per side. And I think it'd be just really cute, and it'd be a lot of fun, and it would actually give an actual whisker for the person, for whoever's wearing it to have on their little muzzle mask. So we're about 2.5 hours in. I'm not quite, I'm done with this project, but I definitely want to, there's some other stuff, we can keep working a little bit. I can show and tell you, I can do some show and tell, on some of the things that I did, off stream or off project. But first I'm going to take this and move this to the side, because it's going to take a bit to dry, and although I'm going to want to add some Resolene and I'm going to finish it, I don't want to be handling it too much. I want to let the dye soak in. I want it to let it to fully dry before I do anything else with it. That will, however, take remarkably little time because, again, Veg Tan really, really likes this leather. Ooh. And I've noticed a couple little places where I missed some of the edging. Here's a little hint. You can actually take a black Sharpie and get in there, especially if it's a very fresh Sharpie. My Sharpies are not very fresh, but you can kind of get in there with your Sharpie and clean up any edging you might have missed, or any little places where maybe the dye didn't quite make it. A Sharpie is very good for black when doing that. To just get some of those little spots that you may have missed that didn't quite get there with the dauber. But yeah, just a little hint. Black Sharpies are good for that. Okay, I'm gonna put him aside. We can do a little show and tell, and maybe a little something to finish up this afternoon. Okay, so what are some of the things that I did off street? Well, first of all, one of the things that I do is I do these guys. These are posture collars. These are basically very wide collars that are built to work as effectively neck support, and positional, and like for positional bondage or forcing people to have proper bondage, posture and standing. You can think of it a little bit like a neck girdle. So imagine this just kind of sitting under your chin. Forcing your neck into the proper position, but also giving it support. They also are, I do mine fairly plain, but they can be very intricate and very pretty. I like mine a little bit more on the plain side. So we have that. So we're going to take that. Okay. I don't know. Oh, and then we have these are, I did some of these cuffs on stream, but I did the black ones with red black leather with red garment leather. Here's some of the other colors that I did, and here we can see we have purple and black, and your favorite pink and black. These are also locking or quick release. So nice, comfy, padded leather on the underneath, and then we have the pink and the black at the top. So there's how those guys look. I also have a red leather, but I'm probably not going to have the chance to get that done before the event that I'm doing in 2 weeks. So that one I can't quite get. I probably won't get those done before the show happens, and that's okay. You know, it kind of works out the way it kind of works out. However, it works out. I get done what I can get done. Okay, what else did I do? So, one thing I did, so I did these guys. These don't look like much, but they are a bulldog harness. These are the kinds of harnesses that are meant to kind of go over your shoulders and down the front of your chest. I wish I could give I could show a good example of how they're supposed to fit or how they're supposed to work. They're mostly cosmetic. You get them a lot of as unisex leather items that are just kind of pretty. That are meant to accent a person's build or otherwise show that you are involved in the leather community or that you're interested in the leather community. Things like that. That's kind of what bulldog harnesses are. I did a lot of leashes. Leashes are something I do a bunch of. But, I figured with the time we have left, we can work on something that I kind of need to get done, but didn't get around to finishing. I don't know if you ever saw the VOD. I don't know if you ever finished the VOD, but this is how my pony head looked. This is how the pony ended up looking. I don't know if I don't know if you watched the VOD, but there's our pony head. So I take it you did not end up finishing the VOD? Ah, okay. So, but yeah, that's how the pony head finished. That's how it looks. It's not finished because I still need to do the straps and I need to finish this back strap. So I figured with about the 20 minutes we have left, we can at least get the back strap done. We probably won't do the side straps. But that'll put me at but we can at least do this part. And one of the things we're going to use for this part is we're going to use Harold. Harold is going to get fit with our pony hood. Why? Because Harold will tell me where I need to cut. Hello, Harold. Thank you for your help. See, because this is way too long. See how long this is? You don't want this long. We want this to come basically down to roughly the base of their neck. So that's going to be right about here. So we're going to mark there real quick, and I'm going to grab my marking awl. This is where having something like Harold is extremely useful, because he lets me do snap measurements like this without having to wear the pony hood on my own head, which, I can do. Not over my mic, but I can do it, but it's not quite so good of a fit. So it's just easier to do it through Harold. So we want to have that go there, and we want to go to the base of his neck, so we want to go to about there, and mark it. Head pats on Harold with everyone. Okay. You're such a good... Look at Harold with his pony mask. Pony Harold. Pony Harold gets the head pats. Head pats for Pony Harold. And head pats for Raven for... By the way, you never told me how you did on your test. Are you still waiting for your judgment on your test? But also good on you, head pats for Raven for getting their cleaning done. And finishing up their test, and no one passed? What happened? How did no one pass? Well, you still deserve head pats. And Harold and Ponyhood also deserves head pats. So there's some head pats for Harold. In Pony Harold gets some head pats. And we'll give his mane a little petting. We'll give his mane a little scritch. Little scritch in the mane for Harold. But how did no one pass? That seems ludicrous to me. Seriously. I mean, if no one passed, that seems more of a failing on the teacher's side than it does a failing on the student's side. In my opinion. But please, do tell. I'm really curious how this guy justified no one passing. Like, I am very seriously curious in this regard. Oh. Should I have made that a little longer? Nah, it'll be fine. And they didn't. You would have passed if you did this and this. And did he never teach that stuff? The stuff that he said you would have passed if you had done this and this. Did he ever teach that in the classes? I mean, it might have been. Honestly, it might have been during one of the days you were absent. In which case, that might be a little more understandable. But if it's not something they taught in the classes, then it's like, okay. Like, that just seems a little stupid to me. Also, see, that's a failing on the teacher's part. If that teacher never actually taught you the thing you were supposed to know, like he never actually bothered to do that, then that is entirely a failing on the teacher's part. That's not you. You know, and if he had said something like, oh, well, you should have found out on your own. No, that's not how teaching works. You are a teacher. You are supposed to teach the people what they need to know. Jeez. Like, yeah, give me a freaking break. That's just ludicrous. So, yes, absolutely. Like, that is absolutely the teacher's responsibility. And if the teacher did not follow up teaching with what they were supposed to, like, if they put something on a test that they were supposed to teach and they never taught it to you, that is their fault, not yours. So, I do not know if your school has any kind of appeal or grievance or anything like that, but that is something I would absolutely, like, I would have a problem with. what I'm doing now is I am putting in the retaining strap. So the retaining strap, as we did this as well on my pup hood. The retaining strap is there to hold the buckles and securing straps, the ones that are actually going around their heads, hold those in place. So, it's not a test that counts. Yeah, it still just sounds stupid to me. So what I'm actually going to do on the retaining strap is I'm going to add basically just a little D-ring at the bottom, who is basically only there to, someone wants to clip a leash or something onto the pony hood, they can do that. Some people really like it. It's mostly a decorative element, but it comes in handy. And this is one of those things where I'm just improvising it because, this doesn't have to be super precise. This is just a supporting element, so to speak. So now this will be the retaining strap. Effectively what this is, as I said, the straps that hold the mask in place will go through there and get held in place. And then if they want to have someone clip a leash on or something like that, they can do that. Now I'm going to test if I got the measurements right by putting it on my own head. Yep, it's sitting right about the base of my head, so it's in the right place, which is good. So that is where we are now with this piece. I suppose the next thing we can do for the last 10 minutes or so of stream is cut out the buckles that will go and hold the straps in place. If I can find my 3/4 inch strip of black leather. If I have a 3/4 inch strip of black leather. Yes, I do. Knew I did. I have a couple of them, so we'll take the shorter ones. And this is where, as I said before, my work area starts becoming more and more chaos. Wee chaos. We're going to put this aside, though. And we're going to grab a few of my 3/4 inch buckles. 1, 2, and 3. Hey, Groms! You have wonderful timing. I'm going to end in about 10 minutes. But it's good to see you. Thank you for being in chat. I'm doing good. I'm getting stuff ready for my first major show of the year, which will be happening in just about 2 weeks. In fact, not next weekend, but the weekend after next, I will be gone for my Sunday stream for the for that show. We'll put about that much buckle length on it. Maybe a little less. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. So it is a 3-day event called Kink Fest that is based out of Portland, Washington, United States. It is a 3-day long convention for kinky people, filled with classes and events and a big giant dungeon play space for people to use and all that fun stuff. So, I've been going to this event for many, many years. I usually I've been vending at this event for like 10 plus years at this point. And yeah, it's usually one of those events where it's a really good time. It is really a blast. It's a really good time. I get to see a bunch of people who I, maybe don't get to see incredibly often. And it's sort of one of my, major money makers of the year. So that's why, I've been kind of slamming on doing my leather work a lot these past few weeks, and kind of why there's been so many leather streams, because you guys keep me on task. You guys keep me going and make sure that I get things done. Which I really appreciate. I do too, because it's looking, the way things are going, this year is going to be really bad, or I feel like there is no middle ground this year. This year is going to be either very bad or very good, and I just, with everything that's happening politically, of course, and everything that's happening in the world, people are either going to be really super reluctant to spend money, or they're going to be like, fuck it, let's blow it all out. Let's blow it all out and just buy the things we want. And go from there. I could appreciate that, Grums. I mean, I hope things are good for you, at least, or at least if they're not the best for you, I hope they're, controllable and you're able to handle them. We don't want you to have a bad time, after all. We want you to be in a good place. Actually, the other, thank you. I appreciate it, Grubs. I do. We're in a very unsure place right now. I will certainly say that. So, that's a thing. Where did I put my knife? Specifically, where did I put my sharp knife? like many things, I put it to the side and then promptly forgot where I put it. Especially since I haven't really had need of it today, so of course it's gone into the waste bin of my brain saying, well, you didn't need it, and you put it somewhere, so sucks to be you in finding it again. No. Do not spill out all of the sewing materials. Sewing materials must stay in the bag. Sure, I'll find it at some point. Probably when I least need it, but I have a substitute that I can bring in that isn't as good. Oof, sorry to hear that, Raven. I hope it's at least a reasonably comfy Squishmallow. Ah, there's my sharp kniff. Found it. Yeah, it's you know, it's pretty scary right now for people who are friends of mine because of the political situation we're in. Luckily, I live in one of the states that is more liberal and more supportive. So that's a thing which is good. But still, like, with all the shit that's going on, it's still a very unsure time. So, I'm just doing my best to work through it, but that's also why I've been job hunting and why I've been, hopefully making my Twitch a little bit more of a welcoming place for folks, so maybe that can expand and... looking for trying to keep my mental health good, and because that's also a challenge. You gotta always keep track of your mental health. And that goes for everybody. Like, I know it's not just tough for me. I know it's just not tough. It's not just tough for us U.S. folks. So, what's happening in the U.S. is, unfortunately, a lot of it's kind of symptoms of it is showing up otherwise. I'm going to snooze my ads because we're almost done for tonight. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these buckles in the... I'm going to set these buckles. I'm going to then... I'm going to set these buckles and then I'm going to put them on the pony head, and then I'll probably be done for this stream. So that's probably where I will do things for this stream. I will bring back the kitty head that we basically finished, so you can take a look at it, Groms. So, okay, let me just finish my train of thought here. My train of thought is getting these buckles finished and attached to the pony head. So, you know, if I don't do it, then it will leave my mind and it'll just sit there for another bunch of days without me actually finishing it. Because we know how that is, right? All right. Bonk my head on the rivet press. So, as chaotic as my workspace looks right now, this is about how it always looks when I'm actually working. Like, my workspace becomes just a whirlwind of clutter and insanity. And it's just one of those things that I never seem to be able to help. As soon as I start any project, it's how my work area ends up. Along with all of the things that I can't find again, and you know, all the things that I can't really find, all of the things that I have sort of half done and not sure about, and all of the parts and pieces that are supposed to go into it. Yep. So, one of the things I did throughout my house is I kind of got rid of every flat surface that isn't a work surface. Because what would happen is anything that was a flat surface would just start collecting leather stuff and collecting work stuff. So just for reference, there's how we attach the buckles. Just one rivet each. They don't really need to be hugely heavily fastened. It also lets it rotate a little bit so people who can find the fitting they want. What I will not do today, but what I'll do finish off, is I'll do the long straps that go around the other side that have the holes. We'll just do that another time. I'll just do that when I have, some night when I have 20, 30 minutes free. Okay. But yeah, for a long time, I would have tables set up in my living room. I would have tables set up everywhere, and anywhere where I had a table or a flat surface, it would just get covered in stuff. And so, so I cut things down, and I did my best to limit the work stuff to my actual work areas, and cut flat surfaces to my actual work areas so that they couldn't eat up my entire house. Alright. Oh, no you don't. So, there we go. There is the finished stitched together, and we also dyed our little kitty mask. He is not finished yet. He needs to have a coat. He needs to have a clear coat put on him, which I will do in a little bit, probably later this evening. If it tells you anything, though, it's almost dry. We put on the dye less than an hour ago, We put on the dye maybe 30, 40 minutes ago, and the veg tan leather has already just completely soaked in and practically completely dried. So it is absolutely one of those things where, you know, veg tan just loves dye. Just loves it. It loves anything you use to finish it with. But yeah, I think on that note, that is where we're going to call it today. Yeah, and it's alcohol. It's an alcohol-based dye. My webcam is taking a little to focus on it. I don't think my webcam likes the black on black. It's having a hard time focusing. But yeah, so I think that's what we're going to call it today. I want to thank you for showing up. Thank you, Grums, for popping in. I'm happy you were able to do so. Raven, as always, wonderful to have you here. Thank you very much. I hope you sleep good on your Squishmallow pillow, as you deserve to do. I will be back on Tuesday. It will be a Beat Saber day, and I think we will do Beat Saber multiplayer, because I've not been doing my usual Thursday Beat Saber streams. So Tuesday, I think we will do some Beat Saber multiplayer. But until I see you next time, I hope you had a great day. I hope you learned something today. I hope today was better than yesterday, and I hope tomorrow will be better still. But until I see you next time, bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye, everyone.